Christmas in two hemispheres, hot or cold. What's your preference? Apart from visiting my godmother in the UK when I was 14, and another in California when I was an au pair at 22, I spent my first 43 years celebrating Christmas in the Southern Hemisphere. In my teens, I enjoyed a slightly white and cold Christmas in the UK, as I marveled at the small flutters of snow. But to be honest, I remember very little of that trip. As for Southern California, one could hardly call it a Northern Hemisphere Christmas. It's well known that the region has a relatively temperate winter climate. Let's begin with the tropical heat of Southern Hemisphere Christmases. Christmas in South Africa, or at least with my family, followed the same pattern throughout my childhood. On Christmas Eve, we had a special roast dinner, usually turkey, roast potatoes and vegetables, and Yorkshire pudding with gravy, all washed down with champagne, and Christmas pudding and custard for dessert. While my entire family and guests enjoyed the traditional Christmas dessert, I found it revolting, as it made me very sick. So I stopped eating the pudding in my early childhood. Allow me to elaborate. Christmas pudding and mince pies are very traditional British festive foods. Despite the name, mince pies do not actually contain any meat-based mince. Both desserts are made primarily of a mincemeat consisting of raisins, currants, candied citrus peels, sugar, nutmeg, and a range of spices and citrus zest to suit the maker's taste. They also contain suet, which is the raw, hard fat found around cow or sheep kidneys and may very well be the culprit for my feelings of nausea. Christmas pudding is far denser than mince pies, which are encased in a pie crust shell, as it includes eggs and flour. The dome-shaped pudding is served warmed, cut into slices, and ladled with custard. I will state again that I am the odd one out when it comes to these traditional Christmas foods. Partygoers gobble them up, often with a dash of brandy poured slowly over the steaming treats, for a little Yuletide pick-me-up. After a small gathering on Christmas Eve, Christmas Day was a larger event with the rest of our family. We pulled crackers, wore silly paper hats, ate cold meats and salads, and hung around the pool listening to Christmas music as the kids played with the toys that had been unwrapped at some ridiculous hour that morning. Australians spend Christmas much the same way that South Africans do. Some cook a roast dinner, some hang out at the beach, some around the pool. There are annual specials that become a Christmas tradition for some families, as they gather around the television to sing carols, and gifts are usually unwrapped on Christmas morning. Red, green, silver, and gold decorations adorn the insides of houses, as tinsel and festive knickknacks are placed on banisters and mantels. While having a real spruce, pine, or fir tree in the corner of your living room is traditional in Europe and North America, it is a relatively new concept for many Southern Hemisphere countries, likely due to the warmer climate, so most people buy fake trees. Christmas in the Southern Hemisphere is hot, and depending on where you are, sometimes it's a similar temperature to that on the surface of the sun. This also means that the sun sets later, and may well be the reason that stringing Christmas lights on the outside of the average home is not as established a tradition as it is in the north. By the time darkness sets in, there's not so much time to enjoy the glow against the night sky. In 2017, I moved to Texas, which is even less likely to be allowed in the Northern Hemisphere club than Southern California. The oscillating weather patterns were severe, and my first Christmas in the Lone Star State was spent in a friend's apartment with a bunch of Texans huddled around a makeshift fireplace, a streaming YouTube video displaying a crackling fire on her large-screen TV. Everyone brought a contribution to the potluck Christmas dinner as we sat around chatting in short-sleeved shirts and trying to capture a wintry feel. The following Christmas was spent on a ranch just south of San Antonio as I tended to my horsey duties, decked out in a t-shirt and jeans under the winter sun. Things changed, however, when I moved to Canada at the end of 2019. I now believe that Christmas should be spent in the snow. I have been utterly and thoroughly converted to wintry Yuletide seasons. Holiday cheer in Canada is wonderful to behold. Some start decorating their homes with strings of lights and glowing figures lighting up front yards in late November. The snow begins to fall. Elves find their way onto shelves all over the great white north, and Christmas movies feel far more poignant when it's cold outside. Advent calendars adorn fireplace mantels, just above stockings embroidered with family members' names as the clock ticks down to a visit from Santa Claus. Every day from December 1st to the 24th, a numbered cardboard door is opened to reveal exquisite little Xmas illustrations or a piece of candy. I don't buy into the commercialization of Christmas. For me, it's about the feeling. And as strange as it is to admit, having spent only 8% of my Christmases in cold weather, well, 12% if you count Texas, I am now a true believer in a winter Noel. The season just feels different with a blanket of snow and a roaring fire. Bring on the snow, spiced mulled wine, festive songs, and pie. Loads and loads of pie.